The moment he looked the judge in the eye and said, "She's unstable. I want full custody," I swear I stopped breathing. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't stammer. He said it like he was reading off a weather app. Just facts. Clear skies. Dangerous mother. Remove the child. I was sitting right there. In the same hard wooden chair I'd been anchored to for nearly an hour, hands clenched in my lap, trying not to fall apart. My lawyer didn't flinch. The judge didn't blink. And Marcus, he looked like a man giving a TED talk. Calm, measured, rehearsed. And I couldn't speak. It's hard to explain what it feels like to be erased in real time. To sit in a room full of people tasked with evaluating your capacity to love and protect your child, and realize they're being charmed by the man who used to scream at you for putting onions in his takeout. I remember thinking, this can't be happening. This isn't real. But it was, and worse, it was working. I could feel the shift in the room, the subtle tightening of the judge's jaw, the way her eyes narrowed when Marcus said things like, "She confuses our daughter, makes her scared. I don't want to take her away out of spite. I'm doing this to protect her." Protect her! That word landed like a punch in the stomach. Because if there was one thing I had done clumsily, imperfectly, desperately, it was protect my daughter. Protect her from chaos, from volatility, from Marcus. But now he was standing in front of the law, wearing his best suit and best smile, telling them he was the protector. And I was the storm. Behind me, my daughter Lily sat next to my mother, her small hand wrapped around my mom's thumb like a lifeline. She was only 7, but she understood enough. She'd seen the cracks, felt the tension. She knew her father's voice when it turned sharp and cold. She knew the silence that followed. But the court didn't know that. They saw a charming man with a clean record and a steady job. They saw a woman who looked tired and worn out, who flinched when spoken to, who didn't speak up when given the chance. I wish I could say I rose to the moment, that I stood up and laid it all bare, that I gave the speech that saved us. But the truth, I froze. When the judge asked if I had anything to say in response, I opened my mouth and nothing came out. My chest felt tight, like I'd been underwater for too long, and couldn't quite find the surface. My lawyer put a hand on my shoulder, a silent cue to breathe. But it was too late. The silence said everything, and Marcus saw it. I could tell. He didn't smirk, didn't gloat. That wasn't his style. He just sat down, slowly adjusted his tie, and glanced at me like I was already out of the picture. Like he'd already won. And maybe in that moment he had. Because I wasn't just losing custody. I was losing the story. Losing my truth to the version he had crafted so meticulously charming, composed, credible. Everything I wasn't. But what none of us knew, what even I didn't know, was that Lily had been paying attention. Quietly, closely, like only kids who've been taught to tiptoe around adults can. And while I sat there drowning in silence, thinking no one could see what was really happening, Lily was holding a truth I didn't know existed. She was about to save us both. Before the courtroom, before the Navy suit and the lies and the tablet in my daughter's hands, there was just life. Quiet, messy, held together with coffee and routines, and too many sticky notes. We lived in a small apartment on the east side, 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, creaky floors that groaned like ghosts when you walked across them after 10 p.m. But Lily loved it. She called it our nest. Said the pink curtains in her room made it look like a cotton candy cloud. Every night I read to her. Sometimes 1 story, sometimes 2 if I wasn't too wiped from work. She'd fall asleep with her stuffed penguin Pebble clutched against her chest. The way she wrapped herself around him made me ache with love and guilt at the same time. I was doing my best. Freelance graphic design from home. Barely scraping by, but I made it work. My mom, Carolyn, lived 4 blocks away. She helped with school pickups when I had deadlines. She'd show up with lasagna or scrub my sink without asking. The kind of help that feels loud in its quietness. "You're doing better than you think," she'd tell me. I wanted to believe her. But Marcus, he never let me forget I wasn't enough. Even after the divorce, he found ways to insert himself. Commenting on Lily's lunchbox contents. Criticizing the way I dressed her, too casual, too bright, too mismatched. Complaining if I was 2 minutes late for a drop-off. Once he filed a late arrival incident with the court because I hit traffic and got to the school 7 minutes past pickup. He agreed to joint custody on paper, But in practice, he wanted power, control. He couldn't stand that Lily was happy with me, that she thrived in a space he didn't design. And Lily, she started changing. After weekends with him, she came back quiet. Sometimes angry, sometimes blank. She stopped asking me to read stories, stopped singing in the shower. She started asking weird questions, like, do good people yell a lot? Or can someone be nice to you and still make you scared? The first time she said that one, I felt like something split inside me. I remember one night, late, probably close to midnight, I was cleaning up cereal she'd left out. I turned and found her standing in the doorway, barefoot hair mussed pebble under one arm. She didn't say anything, just walked over and wrapped her blanket around my shoulders. Like she knew I needed something but couldn't ask for it. That's who she was. That's who he was trying to take from me. And the worst part, he was getting away with it. Because Marcus, he was always the charming one. The guy who remembered birthdays, who shook hands and made eye contact and laughed at people's jokes before they even finished them. College athlete turned sales exec. You know the type, clean haircut, spotless apartment, polite to strangers. No one ever suspected him. Why would they? I kept receipts. I had a folder on my computer labeled custody evidence, filled with screenshots of texts where he called me names, where he accused me of being unfit, where he threatened to call Child Protective Services if I didn't let him switch weekends. But I never showed any of it to Lily. I thought I was protecting her. Thought I was doing the noble thing, keeping adult things adult. Looking back, I wonder if that silence cost us more than I realized. Then came the truth jar. It started after one especially tense exchange. Marcus accused me of brainwashing Lily just because she wanted to stay at my place an extra night. That night, Lily was curled on the couch, quiet, chewing her nails, and I said, "You know, if something ever confuses you or feels big or weird, you can write it down." She blinked. Like a question. Exactly. A question of feeling anything. We'll put it in a jar. You don't have to say it out loud right away, but we'll read one together every night. She nodded. Next morning, the first note appeared. What if Daddy stops loving me if I stay here too long? I read it aloud, looked into her eyes, and told her the truth. Your father might be angry sometimes, but his love is not your fault. And mine. Mine doesn't have conditions. She cried, so did I. After that, we kept filling the jar. Some were lighthearted. Why do cats hate baths? Others tore through me. If I say I'm scared of Daddy, will that make him mad? I started writing my own too, so she knew I was human. That grown-ups have hard questions too. Then, 2 months before the hearing, Marcus filed for full custody. The papers came in a thick white envelope. His lawyer was one of those always smiling types, the kind who smiles while stabbing you in the back. They claimed I was emotionally erratic, that I made Lily afraid of her father, that I was unstable and couldn't provide a structured environment. There were statements from Marcus's friends, people who hadn't seen me in years, saying I seemed anxious at school events. One said I was overly emotional when Lily got a scraped knee. The irony, I am anxious. I'm overwhelmed. I'm emotional. Because I care. Because I'm trying so hard not to screw this up. But none of that was going to help me in court. My lawyer told me, be calm, be brief, don't interrupt, don't cry. So I practiced. In the mirror. In the car. At night before bed. And still that day in court, when the judge turned to me and asked if I had a response to Marcus's claims, I couldn't speak. My throat locked. My chest collapsed inward. I looked over at Lily. Her legs dangled off the bench. She looked small, but her eyes, they weren't scared. They were sharp, focused. She knew. She'd always known. That was the moment I thought I'd lost her. And that was the moment she decided she wasn't going to let me. It was the Monday of the custody hearing. I barely slept the night before. Lily had fallen asleep, curled against me, pebble crushed between us. I didn't move. I just lay there staring at the ceiling, thinking about everything I didn't say in our last court session. All the moments I had swallowed my voice. All the chances I had let slip by because I was too scared, too careful, too unsure I'd be believed. By 5 a.m., I was in the kitchen boiling water for tea I never drank. My mom showed up at 6 wearing her church scarf, the silky one she only pulled out when she needed strength. She didn't ask if I was ready. She just hugged me, tightly, long enough that I almost lost it. We dressed Lily in a blue dress with sunflowers. She didn't complain, didn't ask questions. She packed her pink tablet in her backpack like it was just another school day. In the car, she stared out the window, humming something soft and repetitive. I didn't recognize the tune, but the way she kept repeating it made me think it wasn't a song, it was armor. We pulled into the courthouse parking lot. Marcus was already there, of course. Standing with his lawyer, same navy suit, same calm expression, same practiced smile. He turned, saw us, and waved. My mom stiffened beside me. Lily didn't wave back. Inside the courtroom felt like a freezer. Everything cold and polished. My name and Marcus's were on the docket, but it didn't feel like I was being evaluated. It felt like I was being dissected. Judge Harmon entered and went straight to business. Mr. Reed, she said to Marcus's attorney, you may begin. And then it started. The painting of me. But not me, her. That version of me Marcus created. The unstable one. The one who snapped and cried and couldn't manage a bedtime without turning it into a breakdown. His lawyer read text messages. Selectively, of course, no context. Just the ones where I said things like, I can't do this anymore, or I'm drowning. She said I lacked emotional stability. Said I was using Lily as a pawn. Said I was sabotaging Marcus's relationship with his daughter out of spite. Marcus spoke next. She tells Lily I'm dangerous, he said like he was correcting a typo. She plants ideas, confuses her. He looked over at the judge. I'm not trying to punish Eva. I'm trying to protect my daughter. There it was again. Protect. The word that had been weaponized. Thrown like a sheet over everything I'd done, twisted until it sounded like guilt. The judge turned to me. Ms. Monroe, do you have a response? I opened my mouth, but my voice didn't come with me. All the words he's lying. He yells at her. She's scared of him. I have proof. They clogged in my throat like wet cement. My hands shook. My lawyer touched my elbow again, but it felt like I was underwater. I couldn't break the surface. I looked at Lily. She was watching me, not afraid, just seeing. And then, she let go of my mom's hand. She stood up, walked forward. No one stopped her. Your Honor, she said, her voice clear and soft. I brought a video from Daddy's phone. I think you should see it. Everything stopped. You could feel the courtroom turn its head without making a sound. The gallery, the bailiff, the judge herself. Marcus's face drained. Judge Harmon blinked. Excuse me. Lily stepped forward, holding her tablet like a book report. It's from last weekend. He didn't know I was awake, but I was. I thought, if you didn't believe Mommy, maybe you'd believe him. She handed the tablet to the bailiff, who walked it up to the bench and placed it gently in front of the judge. I hadn't known she had it. I hadn't even known she could do something like this, but she had. And suddenly, the courtroom, the place where I had felt smallest, belonged to her. The judge tapped the screen. At first, just silence. That fuzzy static hum of a room in the distance. Then, Marcus's voice. Not the voice he used in court. Not the smooth, measured tone he used with the judge. The real voice. You think you're so smart, huh? Go ahead. Try telling anyone. See what happens. You'll end up in a foster home. And don't think your precious mother can save you, she's pathetic. A chair scraped. A plate clattered. Lily's small voice whispered, I'm sorry. Don't talk back, he snapped. You're lucky I even let you come over. The judge paused the video. No one moved. No one breathed. Marcus's lawyer leaned in toward him, whispering, fast, eyes wide. The judge raised one hand to silence them both. Where did this come from? She asked. Lily, standing with her hands clasped in front of her dress, said, He left his phone on the couch. I heard him yelling. I wanted to record it. I thought, if someone heard it, maybe they'd believe me and Mommy. I felt my chest seize. She had been scared. And she had come up with a plan. All by herself. And she followed through with more courage than most adults I've ever known. I wanted to run to her, to pull her into my arms and tell her she shouldn't have had to carry that weight. But I didn't move, because this moment, this impossible, brave, holy moment, belonged to her. Marcus finally broke the silence. Your Honor, he said, his voice cracking. That recording is completely out of context. She was misbehaving. I was disciplining. Enough, the judge said. Her voice wasn't loud, but it cut through the room like glass. Marcus stopped, froze. The judge looked at Lily. Thank you for being brave, she said. You can go back to your seat. Lily nodded and turned around. Her walk was slower now, heavier, like the adrenaline had begun to drain, and the weight of what she'd done was catching up. My mom pulled her into her lap the second she got back, held her tightly. The judge looked at me. "Ms. Monroe, do you have anything else to add?" I stood. And finally, my voice found me. "No, Your Honor," I said. "I think my daughter said it all." The judge didn't deliberate long. "In light of this evidence," she said, "I'm ordering an immediate review of all custody arrangements. Until that review is complete, full temporary custody will be granted to Ms. Monroe. Supervised visitation only for Mr. Reed. And then, bailiff, please escort Mr. Reed from the courtroom until further notice." Marcus's face didn't move for a second. He blinked like maybe he misheard her. Then the flush crept up his neck. "You can't be serious," he muttered. "Sir," the bailiff said, stepping forward. I thought Marcus would fight, argue, explode, but he didn't. He looked at the judge, then at Lily, then at me, and for the first time in years, he had nothing to say. He turned and walked out. His lawyer scrambled behind him. The courtroom slowly emptied after that. People filtered out like water draining from a tub. But we stayed. Lily was curled against my mother, her face pressed to her scarf. Pebble tucked beneath her chin. I stood still, trembling, still unsure whether what just happened had actually happened. I knelt beside Lily. "You were so brave," I whispered. She nodded against my mother's chest, but didn't speak. Her shoulders were slumped now. The moment had passed, and the weight of it was pressing down. I looked at the judge again. She was finishing paperwork at the bench, but when she glanced up and caught my eye, her expression had shifted. It wasn't soft. It wasn't pity. It was respect. When she left, I stood slowly and began gathering our things. My hands shook as I packed Lily's backpack. Her pink tablet still rested on the bench beside her, its screen now dark. I touched it gently, like it was something sacred. Outside the courtroom, a woman I didn't know passed us in the hallway and mouthed the word brave to Lily as we walked by. We didn't speak until we got to the car. I crouched to Lily's level. "Are you okay?" She shrugged, then finally said, "I didn't want to do it. But I had to." I swallowed the lump in my throat. "I know," I said. "I'm proud of you. You shouldn't have had to carry that alone." She looked down at her shoes. "I didn't know if they would believe me." "They did," I said. "Because you told the truth. And because you were strong enough to speak up when no one else could." "Does this mean I don't have to go back to Daddy's house?" she asked. I pulled her into my arms. "You're safe," I said. "That's what matters." That afternoon, we didn't go home. I couldn't. I didn't want to go back to our apartment and feel the ghosts of every night I'd sat awake, worrying, doubting, unraveling. So we went to my mom's house. She made soup even though it was warm out. She always made soup when things were too big to talk about. "It gives me something to stir," she said, "when I can't fix anything else." Lily sat at the kitchen table with a box of crayons while I filled out court paperwork on the couch. At one point, she came over and handed me a drawing, 2 hands holding a heart. Underneath, in big, uneven letters, she had written, "Truth is brave." I started crying before I even looked up. Not the quiet kind, not this time. The kind that shakes your whole body, like something's finally been let out after being trapped for too long. Lily sat beside me. Didn't say anything, just leaned against my arm. That night, after she fell asleep in my mom's guest room, I sat by the window with a cup of tea and watched the streetlights flicker. I hadn't felt this kind of silence in years, the kind that wasn't dangerous. The kind that didn't feel like waiting for the next blow. It felt like a beginning. The final custody review took 4 more weeks. It was thorough. Court-appointed therapists' interviews, home visits. Marcus denied everything, of course. Claimed the video was taken out of context. That Lily was being coached. That I had manipulated her. But the video spoke louder than any excuse he had. And so did Lily. Her statement, written in her own handwriting, with help from her school counselor, said, "I love my dad, but he yells a lot and says mean things. It makes me feel small and scared. I like living with Mommy. She listens to me and reads me stories and lets me draw. I want to stay with her." That broke me again, but this time in a different way. The final decision came on a Friday morning. Full legal and physical custody to me. Supervised visits for Marcus twice a month at a neutral site with trained professionals. No overnights. No behind closed doors manipulation. No threats. It wasn't over, not completely. There would still be co-parenting logistics, legal loose ends, future therapy bills. But the hardest part, the fear of losing her, was behind us. We left the courthouse quietly that day. No one watched us. No one waved. And that was just fine. In the weeks after, I started therapy again. Not because I was falling apart, but because I finally had the space to feel. I realized I'd spent so long holding everything together, smiling for Lily, pretending for Court, apologizing for being tired, that I didn't even know what safe felt like anymore. It was like learning how to breathe again. Lily began drawing more. She drew trees with deep roots, girls holding lanterns, houses with windows wide open. She drew a picture of the truth jar and taped it to her bedroom wall. One night she said, "I think we should start it again." So we did. That night's note read, "What happens when the truth hurts people?" I looked up. "Did you write this?" She nodded. I said, "The truth can hurt, but hiding it hurts more. What you did, that wasn't hurting someone. That was protecting yourself. That was protecting us." She looked at the jar again and whispered, "Then I want to keep doing it." "We will," I said, every night. I started painting again. Not professionally, just in the evenings when Lily was asleep and the apartment was quiet. I painted the sunflower dress she wore that day in court. I painted her hands, holding the tablet. I painted Pebble, her stuffed penguin, sitting upright like a guard dog. I hung the paintings above my desk, not as trophies, but as reminders. Reminders that bravery doesn't always look loud. Sometimes it looks like a child walking down a courtroom aisle, holding the truth in her hands. One night, I pulled a note from the jar that said, "Do brave people still get scared?" I smiled and said yes. They just don't let fear write the ending. She looked at me, nodded slowly and said, "Then I want to be brave forever." "You already are." The truth didn't just protect us. It changed us. It didn't happen all at once. There wasn't some magical moment where I woke up without anxiety or slept 8 hours without waking in a panic. But something inside shifted the day Marcus walked out of that courtroom with the bailiff behind him. It was like someone cracked a window open in a room where we'd been holding our breath for years. We could finally inhale. Not deeply, not freely, not yet, but enough. A few days after the final ruling, Lily and I went to the diner. She loved the one with the red booths and the smiley face pancakes. She sat across from me, stirring her chocolate milk with a straw. Her shoulders were looser. Her eyes didn't dart to every sound. She was starting to feel safe again. Between bites, she asked, "Is it over now?" I didn't lie. "It's safer now," I said. "We're not done growing through this, but we're not afraid anymore." She looked out the window for a while, then nodded. "I'm glad I told." "So am I." I reached across the table and squeezed her hand. She held on longer than usual. That night, she pulled a note from the truth jar that said, "Can kids protect grown-ups too?" She didn't ask it aloud, just passed it to me. I looked at her and said, "You did. You protected me in a way no one else could." She didn't say anything. She didn't need to. I saw Marcus one more time. It wasn't planned. Just a coincidence in a grocery store parking lot. I was coming out with a bag of frozen peas and almond milk. He was walking in alone. He saw me before I saw him. He stopped. I didn't. I walked right past him, keys in hand, head high. He didn't speak, didn't nod. Just stood there watching me like he was waiting for something. But I didn't give it to him. Not a glance. Not a second. Not a single drop of the energy he once fed on. That was the revenge. Not shouting. Not slamming a door. Just silence. Just freedom. Months passed. Lily flourished. She started humming again. Danced around the apartment like she used to. She made new friends. She joined the art club. She painted a picture of herself with a cape made of notebook paper and a crown made of crayons. She said it was me telling the truth. I started volunteering at her school library, just once a week. Something to help me feel connected again. Less hidden, less afraid. We started sleeping through the night. We started breathing easier. We started becoming ourselves again. One Saturday, Lily and I were cleaning the apartment, and she pulled a box from under her bed. Inside was her old sunflower dress folded neatly. A little too small now, the hem just a touch shorter than it should be. She held it up. "This still smells like court," she said. I laughed a little surprised. "What does court smell like?" She shrugged. "Like cold air and grown-ups not listening." Then she held the dress to her chest for a second. Just a second. And placed it back in the box. I didn't say anything. I just rubbed her back and helped her slide the box back under the bed. Some things we carry not because they still hurt, but because they taught us something we'll never forget. Eventually, supervised visits resumed, once a month, in a sterile court-appointed center with staff present. Marcus never tried to contact me again. He sat in those rooms, showed up, checked the box. But Lily didn't ask about him much. She didn't dread those visits, but she never counted down to them either. She returned home quiet, but not scared. Reserved, but not wounded. That was enough for me. That was everything. It's been a year now. A year since Lily stood up in that courtroom and handed over the truth. A year since I found my voice again. A year since I stopped apologizing for being exhausted and started honoring what I'd survived. I still have the tablet, still have the recording. I haven't played it since that day. I don't need to. I don't need to rewatch the moment we were saved, because I live in the aftermath of it, in the home we made safe again, in the breath I can finally take without guilt, in every note we pull from that truth jar. Some nights, Lily still asks me hard questions, still writes things like, "Why do people lie if they know it hurts others? Does Daddy still think I'm small? Will I always remember what happened?" I never pretend I know all the answers. Sometimes I just say, "What do you think?" And she always thinks more deeply than I expect. She always surprises me. She always makes me proud. I'm telling this story now because I know there's another woman out there right now sitting in silence. She's got folders full of receipts, screenshots, notes scribbled on napkins, journal entries she's afraid to let anyone read. She's scared that when it's time to speak, no one will hear her, that the man who tore her down behind closed doors will stand in front of a judge with a tie and a smile and tell a better story. And I just want her to know, you don't have to be the loudest person in the room. You don't need to have all the perfect words lined up. You don't even need to win the argument. You just need the truth. And sometimes, if you're lucky, if you've raised someone braver than you even realized, you won't be the only one carrying it. The truth isn't always enough in court. But that day, it was. Because it came from someone they couldn't dismiss. A 7-year-old girl in a sunflower dress holding a tablet like it was a sword. And in that moment, she wasn't just protecting her mom. She was rewriting the ending. She was choosing light. She was choosing herself. She was choosing me. I used to think being a good mother meant shielding my child from every hard thing. Now I know better. It means standing with her through the storm, letting her see me cry, letting her watch me get back up, teaching her that truth matters even when it hurts, especially when it hurts. We still have the truth jar. We still pull notes. We still speak out loud. And every night before I turn off her light, I kiss her forehead and remind her, brave people still get scared. They just don't let fear write the ending. And she always smiles like she already knows. Because she does. She lived it. She wrote it. She saved us both. Sometimes the person who saves you isn't the one with power or a platform. It's the child holding a tablet in a courtroom, refusing to let fear write the ending. Lily reminded me that truth doesn't always roar. Sometimes it's quiet. Sometimes it wears a sunflower dress. We didn't win because I fought harder. We won because we told the truth and finally stopped apologizing for surviving. I used to think I had to protect her from everything. Now I know we protect each other. And that's what makes us unbreakable.